When you were out muttering lines along the river, did anyone see you? Or
no one saw me. I'd like, much. That's the great thing about, modern technology is that you can mumble to yourself and someone assumes you're talking to someone else, So it's much easier to do your lines in public now.
So you did her part in your recording?
Yeah.
Oh, we got to hear that.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you do it in her voice?
It was masterful. What can I say?
That's hilarious.
No, I mean, that's what I did. Yeah. And I would just walk and walk and walk.
This is actually an audience of your fellow actors, SAG-AFTRA actors.
Hi, everyone.
Yes. I usually like to start by asking how you got your SAG card, but I know it might be unusual coming from the UK, so I'm actually more curious, what was your first acting job? That can be the first time you got paid for it or the first time you felt like you're a professional actor. It was a commercial.
Yeah. I think mine was it was either a Hardee's commercial. Does anybody remember Hardee's?
Oh, yeah.
Are they still around? Are Hardee's still around?
In obscure places.
It was either that or an American Express commercial that never saw the light of day, but one of those, yeah.
But you still got paid, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. For you?
Mine was a play. It was actually a tour of two plays at the same time. The Royal Hunt of the Sun, in which I played a Franciscan friar, and we were also doing a play called...
I can see that.
Yes.
And at the same time, we were doing a tour of the local prisons, which you can also probably see, where I was playing a kind of psychopathic comedian in this play called Comedians. So I was doing two... And I had this hair that I could either curl up into a tonsure or down into a kind of a skinhead. That was my first job.
That one again one of these days.
Playing prison audiences. After that, was it all?
So we'd be doing the theatre royals in the local towns, like the poshest of the posh, and then we'd go to the local prison to do both. So it was a great way of starting. I thought, my career is going to be really interesting. Then I didn't work for about a year and a half after that.
But I bet there were actually really appreciative audiences.
Really, really appreciative. And sometimes quite nerve-wracking because I was playing a kind of psychopath. The way they responded to me, I like that one, I like him. So it was a bit nerve-wracking.
I love that. Well, again, congratulations on a wonderful film. I know that the BBC interview with Prince Andrew was a seismic event in the UK and eventually in ours. It took a couple days for it to resonate with us. Do you remember seeing it? Were you watching it live? Was everybody talking about it when it went down?
I think I avoided it for a while because what we were hearing was that it was a catastrophe. And
see, I'd jump right to it if I heard that.
Yeah, I think because of the nature of the catastrophe and how cringeworthy it was, I wasn't. I don't think I was in the mood for it at the time. But eventually, caught some of it, and then obviously watched it obsessively to prepare for this.
Mm-hmm.
Very much the same with me. I didn't watch it live at the time. I heard the rumblings. And I think similarly, I didn't particularly feel like sitting and watching the whole thing. And then eventually I did start watching it in clips and found it kind of grimly fascinating. And then, of course, ended up living with it for a long time in preparation for this.
Well, I'm actually kind of curious about that because as actors, you have to recognize good drama. But at the same time, you probably never thought when that interview was airing, like, I'd like to star in an adaptation of that story. Or maybe you were. Maybe you.
No.
Yeah.
Didn't cross my mind.
No, but I do have to say, when I did watch it, I was fascinated by what I thought was going on in his head.
Yes.
I did find it. That's what was very, very interesting about the things it reminded me of. And, I found it very painful to watch, but very fascinating at the same time.
I actually want to get into that because there's things, you're eerie in this as him. And there's things that you do like with your eyes where I just want to like pause and do a live commentary and say like, what were you thinking in that moment?
Well, one of the things that I noticed when I first watched it is that you're watching real thoughts, but you're also watching performative thoughts. Yeah. So he's cooked little things up at home that he thinks are true in his own way. He's found a way to tell his version of the truth, which is about avoidance and making up little stories. And then he attempts to fresh mint those things in front of you, but he doesn't have enough oxygen to do it successfully because of the laser-like gaze that is upon him. But a lot of the that people who might not be the best thinkers in the world still do a lot of thinking.
Mm-hmm. Also,
That's really interesting. That's such a good line.
I know from experience.
Also, he thinks he's killing it. He thinks he's doing great when this is happening, and it's fascinating to me. You see that hubris. Yeah, he really had no idea.
That's the tricky thing about it, is like, it's really hard to get your head around the fact that he was so cock-a-hoop at the end of it.
But also that she kept so cool that she really didn't, let on the fact that she realized that it was a car crash happening right in front of her. And also, if I could ask her a question, it would be when he's giving you a 45-minute tour of Buckingham Palace afterwards. And all you want to do is talk to your producers or go back and watch what you captured. How do you keep your focus and not, like, what is going on in her mind as she's pretending to look at the tapestries?
Yes.
I mean, crazy.
When I've never had an interview like that, but when I have an interview that I know is really good, I have to run out of the room and make sure it recorded. And the fact that she didn't do that, the strength she had to stand there and look at Buckingham Palace is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, there were 6 cameras rolling at the same time.
But still.
And yeah.
So you've both played real people in your career, but I'm not sure you've ever portrayed events that are quite so current. I'm curious how you prepared for the roles, especially with two people who, like right now at this very second, are ever present in today's media. We know what they look and sound like.
It was daunting. Daunting. She's in my proximity. She lives kind of in my neighborhood, and she walks Moody in Hyde Park. You see her running in Hyde Park. She does it on a regular basis. I know people that know her, and so that was a little too close to home for comfort on the one hand, but on the other hand, a lot of access to footage of her online, and listening to her podcast or read her audiobook. That was my experience of. I mean,
have you seen her in the park since the movie premiered?
I have seen her in the park since the movie premiered. Actually, the day after I saw our do you not know this? Yeah. So after I saw our our film, literally the day after, I was taking my dog for a walk in the park, and we have this routine where she drags me, to the park, and then at this garbage bin, she sits down and turns around, and she wants me to unclip her so I can throw a ball. And so she's dragging me. We're standing there. I'm bent down to unclip her, and all of a sudden, somebody kind of pushes me out of the way to throw a. That I won't say that. Somebody moved between me inconveniently here and the bin, and to throw something away, and just as I was looking up, Moody went right between us, and I thought, Moody, and then I looked up, and there she was. She didn't see me. She was with a friend, and they were just about to go for a run, and I literally almost said, I just saw our film. It's so good. Which I'm glad I didn't. Yeah. Oh she has her own project happening at the same time, and it would have been really embarrassing.
And I'm guessing you don't run into Prince Andrew at the park.
No, I haven't. No.
That's another movie if you have.
Yeah, no, definitely. But I'd never. I like doing accents and I do things, but I've never played anyone, who's still alive, who there's video footage of or anything like that. And I knew that I wanted to do it and said yes relatively quickly, and then it dawned on me what I just agreed to. And I didn't, because I haven't done anything like this before, I had to kind of invent a way of doing it. And I think it was just similar to you. I just watched it and listened to it all the time. And my first attempts were so far off. And I just kind of I had to kind of get through the pain barrier for a while. And that, which is a very important thing of just like not judge. And I would wear different things and I would experiment, and I even kind of would not make myself up, but I would do things to the way I look just so my own disbelief in myself would kind of go in the background. And I would just try to track the thoughts as he was doing them and try to work out my version of what was going on. But on top of that, what I tried to do was watch as much footage of him doing well as I possibly could, because actually there was a lot of people who worked with him who really rather liked him, as well as people who despised him. And I saw footage, and this is the tricky bit, of him being really rather charming and being great with people and kind of funny and naughty, etc., and wanted to kind of represent that as well. But that's the scary bit. I was more scared of being accused of trying to make him look good, than, because you want to be fair. But in the end, I think if you can be criticized for both, then I think you've got it right, in that way.
I had told Gillian earlier that when I first saw you in the film, I actually thought it was like footage. I didn't realize it was an actor. It took me a second. I was so surprised. Yeah, no, I mean it as a compliment. And I wasn't aware you are wearing prosthetics of some kind?
Oh, quite a lot.
No,
How dare you! No,
Listen.
I'm so good I can just think my way into that.
But no, there is a degree of how you hold your body. I'm trying to bail myself out, but okay. Did everyone here know that? I knew there was like some, but yes, I'm going to quit while I'm ahead.
There was a lot of prosthetics.
I mean, look at that jawline.
Oh, stop.
But let me ask you, was that your bum?
No, it was not my bum. I did entire interviews where my secret mission was just to slip in that it wasn't my buttocks.
Did you get to
The only reason I turned up, it wasn't my bum.
I knew that answer.
Set him up.
I've heard him qualify that a few interviews.
A real friend. Yeah.
Did you get to approve your butt double or?
Disapproved my butt.
Disapprove, yes. So where did you even begin? Was it like a process of finding the look?
Well, I mean, there were certain things I did on my own. I matted my hair down and I kind of tried my eyebrows go away and I would try to pad myself and just pad around a bit and try to find something.
That is commitment.
Especially if you're getting caught is embarrassing, I have to say. But trying to find something that felt a bit like him but still felt like I could forget about. Because there's a certain point where you feel like you're acting. And I think it was more important to be present without. So in the end, I think we both did a lot of work and then just try to listen to each other and whatever stays.
Was there anything that you learned in your research that even if it didn't make it overtly into the film, like really gave you kind of a key to who these people were?
Oh, interesting. I think there were a couple of things that I heard from people that had worked with her that wouldn't necessarily have shown up either in dialogue, somebody speaking about her or anything that was quite helpful.
Anything specific?
I'll leave it at that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
With me, I mean, you do as much research as you can just in case it helps in some way. Some things might help, and sometimes just a little bit of instinct, a wild guess or something that just feels right. And for me, it was just my knowledge that people even people who are dealing with guilt can feel like victims. People who have, and vice versa. That this was someone who felt he had to lie for his truth to be known. So it creates a very awkward kind of little thing going on in him. But he thinks he's telling a version of the truth in which for the truth to be seen, he has to skip around some uncomfortable areas.
Yeah.
Some unbecoming areas.
Yes, slightly unbecoming areas, yeah.
I believe he believes it to some degree. Yeah, absolutely. I want to talk some more about the interview scene because it's weird to say that you have chemistry, but you do. That can accompany many things. The sequence is so alive and so fraught. Did you know each other coming into this? The UK is a small island, so I assume you run into each
together
other
before. But
have you really?
Briefly, it was like we did a film together. We had like 2 scenes together. We were playing man and wife, though. Husband and wife.
What film? I'm drawing a blank.
I'll follow you down.
Yeah. It was a time travel film. Did it have
Richie
another
Mehta.
title? Did it have another
It may have had a few. It was a lovely little film, but it's
Yeah.
a very interesting little time travel film, kind of strange, like independent film. And I think we did a play reading, a couple of play reading. Yeah.
Okay.
We were at the Doll's House together.
Oh, yes, we did.
It was very good. That was me. Yeah. I was very good.
Were you wearing prosthetics when you were doing the reading?
Wobbling jowls might have thrown you.
But I know with films you often don't have time to rehearse, so probably
No, we didn't.
Yeah.
No.
You probably showed up and did a table read first, I'm presuming?
Yep, we did a table read about, 6 weeks before,
Yeah.
or just at the beginning of filming, and then you went away and we continued to film before he got there to do the interview. And then we both worked on it separately in our own worlds. Obsessive worlds, and then came together on the actual day to film it.
Which was my first day.
That was your first day?
First day.
But it was actually a great way to start because at the end of these 2 days, because they set up all these cameras, and it was very much like a real situation. All the cameras they looked like the interview cameras, and Philip, the director, really left us alone to do it at first, and we just kind of did it on a loop for 2 days.
Yeah.
Like, it was like doing a little play.
Well, we showed up, and obviously they had recreated that drawing room down to the T, and in the interview itself, there were 6 small cameras set up that filmed the interview, so quite low cameras and over the shoulder. But then, so they had those cameras that had film in them, and also the 2 film cameras over the shoulders. And so there were 8 cameras working at the same time. So we showed up, and we'd already discussed with the director that we were okay with trying to do the 20-minute beginning to end, and just seeing how it would go. And we showed up, and he said, "Would you want to try it?"
Yeah.
And so we got mic'd up. We sat in our seats, got mic'd up, and figured out the leg crosses. And,
There's a couple of things we had to work out, but we just did it.
Yeah, and then he said, "Okay."
Wow. And you ran through it a few times in real time, I presume.
Over and over again.
Yeah. More than a few, but we got through it. We got all the way through it the first time, which was, disconcerting on the one hand. And I've spoken about this before, but, doing it, and I'd really, both of us separately had really studied it. And so, getting to, you don't know how the other actor is going to prepare, or whether you can be prepared, and ready to go, but you have
prepared. I mean, I assumed you would, but
Is that a compliment? No.
I wasn't worried that you hadn't prepared, is what I'm saying.
No, but you don't know. You know you're going to go and you're going to do your best, and they're probably going to go and do their best, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to, be able to get a run on it. And so we were doing it for the first time in front of each other, and so obviously, as we're doing it, I'm asking the questions as she asked the questions, to the best of my ability, in that rhythm, and moving and looking and doing all the gestures at the same time and everything. And then sitting in front of me is answering, Prince Andrew, And so there's part of me that was wanting to react to the fact that, I know Rufus. I saw him in the hair and makeup trailer this morning, and he is Prince Andrew, and there's part of me that wants to react and just go, "Fuck yeah, job, man, that's amazing," But you can't, because I'm trying to react as Emily Maitlis is reacting. So it was a really bizarre, very meta experience.
No, it was exactly the same for me, because I'd been studying on my own, and there's this missing part of it, and then suddenly. It was so uncanny watching Gillian as Emily, it was exactly the same. And it was the one bit that was missing was this kind of very gentle and controlled iron will opposite me, which was very useful to help me kind of wobble and falter in that way. But it gave me so much because it was exactly in ways that I hadn't even noticing exactly the same. And then at the same time, there was a little bit of freedom with it, so we could still play with each other, you know.
The thing that I found really frustrating is because she does look down so much, it appears as if I'm looking at my lines. And
she was not.
Yeah,
I
it's lucky they
wasn't.
were there too. Joking? That's not true. It's a joke. One too many jokes.
We're going to be very clear. She knew her lines, and it was not his butt. Everyone needs to know those two things. I am sort of curious, just because this is an audience of actors. When you have, that big day that is coming up on the call sheet, how do you prep for it? Like, do you want to get a lot of sleep the night before? Do you have to meditate? And then, do you have someone that you run lines with, or do you prefer to record it and do it with yourself?
I was living in Twickenham, where I grew up, actually, by the Thames, in this very tiny little cottage. And my thing to do every night was to have my lines in my earphones and to walk along by the Thames doing the interview.
Really?
So I don't know if anyone was disturbed by someone mumbling about not sweating in Pizza Express, because I just have the feed and I would just do the interview on these long nights. It was a very strange.
That's interesting because I did it on the walking on the treadmill quite a lot, and there's something about the physicality, about getting in the physicality of it that was really that I also found helpful. But I have a tendency for things to go really wrong. I have a history of things going really wrong, either the day of a rehearsal or the day before a shoot. And I did Streetcar Named Desire a few years ago.
Yes, you did, and you were amazing.
And thank you. The morning of our first rehearsal, I have to tell this story. I was taking my kids to school. I live in London. I was taking my kids to school, and I've told them so many times, they were a lot younger. I told them so many times that not to turn the radio on, that it became like a joke. And so they'd do it on purpose. So the radio was always on when I'd start the car. And because I was distracted, I left it, but I ended up backing into a Porsche without realizing it because the radio was on. And as I'm driving away, I can see my son in the rearview mirror he's saying something, and I turn it down. He said, "Who was that man?" He said. I said, "What man?" I'm driving. He said, "The man running after the car." I was like, that was my first day. And then first day of Thatcher, I fell down the stairs and I ripped my shoulder. It's like so that's what I do.
Isn't there an expression
to prepare?
now
It's
that
a good
disaster
sign.
Yeah, I've heard that.
What is it?
Well, it's a good sign. They say, bad dress rehearsal, good show.
It. That's what I've heard.
That's why it was so wonderful to shoot that scene without rehearsal, is because there's nothing worse than a perfect rehearsal.
Mm-hmm.
I'd much rather do a bad take than a perfect rehearsal. So, the well-timed bad luck just before you need it, the good luck,
When you were out muttering lines along the river, did anyone see you? Or
no one saw me. I'd much. That's the great thing about modern technology, is that you can mumble to yourself and someone assumes you're talking to someone else. So it's much easier to do your lines in public now, because as long as you've got earphones in, it covers a multitude of sins.
And were you just doing your lines, or did you have?
No, I had my own version of you.
Well.
I had my own version of you that I was playing to myself. I wasn't very good, but so I would cue you, my imagined version, and I would respond.
So you did her part in your recording?
Yeah.
Oh, we got to hear that.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you do it in
It
her
was
voice?
masterful. What can I say?
That's hilarious.
No, that's what I did. Yeah, and I would just walk and walk and walk.
That's also that day on the set. I'm curious what the atmosphere was like because I know the real Sam McAllister is a producer on this.
Yeah.
It's based on her book. Was she there?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
And
So
incredibly supportive and
Okay.
fantastic.
Okay.
Really, she's a great person. Yeah.
So she's watching you and basically telling you in real time
Well,
that you're getting it
that's
right.
very
That
nice.
sucked. It's not how they did it at all. No, yeah, she was great.
Wow, that's amazing. You have a creative consultant who was actually there right there.
Yeah, I actually didn't use her that much. I know that she was incredibly helpful for Billy, and Billy spoke to her a lot.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Yeah.
Right? Like I kind of hide a little bit in a situation like that because I'm so sensitive to what people might be actually thinking. I can't help but try to read between the lines, and everything is significant, So I would tend not to look at her until it was afterwards,
And also,
I don't want to see someone looking worried.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But at the same time,
I didn't want to hear anything pejorative. Not that she would have, but I didn't. I wanted to. Not that I only wanted to hear positive stuff about Emily, but I didn't want to be affected at all by anybody saying anything that might actually influence the performance in a negative way, in any way, or have me try and mask or make up for something. You kind of have to. I find that it helps to kind of slightly fall in love with a character that you're playing if they're a real character, because it's you often, or at least particularly in something like Thatcher, if I had in my mind all the things that I thought about her time in office,
Yeah.
I'm not sure, I
Right.
might have played scenes differently. And so it was important to start from a clean slate. And,
Right.
and I guess, I kind of learned from that, and I try and do that.
and you also can't play the end, which we know now, but they don't know when it's happening. Like I said, he thought he killed it in that interview. He thought it would go
Yeah.
very differently.
Yeah. I don't know what to say about it.
Wendy, I really wonder. I would have liked to have been there for the moment when he realized it was a disaster. Like if someone told him, or he just
I think
had the
it
realization.
took a while.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think it took a while for him to get word. I don't think he could. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know this, but that's the impression I get.
That's what's so fascinating because, when there's an old saying about if you ever want to make if you want good reviews for the rest of your life, play a good journalist. And now all the critics and the journalists will love you. But I am sort of curious, what has the response been? Because here, this is a story that we kind of thought we knew. And watching this, I realized I didn't know anything, especially about getting this story. What has the response been in the UK?
I mean, it's been very positive from my experience, and there was a lot of stuff that I didn't know. I mean, I felt like I followed the Epstein story quite meticulously, and for instance, the stuff about the townhouse around the corner and the girls being escorted by NYPD and Secret Service, that was new information. And there were a few things like that. I mean, that image of Clinton in the Monica Lewinsky dress. There's detail in there that was new for me to learn. And now I can't even remember what your question was.
Just sort of if people have come up and wanted to talk to you about it.
I think they've been pretty, but doing interviews for this, most of the journalists are very excited to talk about it because of the nature of their job, and talk to anybody who understands the complexities of journalism and the importance, particularly of having independent journalism and the opportunity or the platform to hold authority to account, and the importance of maintaining that in society, which feels like it's slipping away.
Yeah, this is our superhero movie. So and for you, have you had similar experience?
Well, very much so. But I do. It does feel like a very wide range of British society did watch it. It wasn't just one particular strata of society. That all kinds of people watched it, and it got because taking on a thing like this, you never quite know, because there's very, very strong feelings on either side. But actually, I was very pleasantly surprised by the reaction. I'm very proud of the show itself.
It's so fantastic. And the good news is it's streaming now on Netflix, so you can watch it again and again. And then go watch the actual interview, because it is uncanny when you see what they're doing here. Again, I want to thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being a great audience.
Thank you for coming.